Halifax housing market changes a lot from every single month and every single year. So this is why you're here to look at what's going on with the real estate stats for the month of January, the first month in 2026. Likely it's going to set the standard for the whole year, so let's see what's going on. Okay, well, the first thing we always want to talk about, of course, is what is that average selling price. And this month we are sitting at $607,500, which is really interesting because we've been on not exactly a massive rip upwards, but we've certainly been going up pretty much month on month. And we know we hit a pretty hefty high point of like $660 something thousand in the middle of last year. But since then, and you'll see from obviously the chart that we're putting up, it's starting to gradually come down every single month. Now, last month, that average price was $630,000, $607,500 this time. So you can see that we're definitely on a downward trend. It's 23K, which is around about 3.6%. Yeah, we'll call it 3.6%. And then when we also want to look at last year's number, which is $664,000. So that's a hefty 8% drop from January last year, 2025, to January this year. So that's a big change in the market. And certainly when we get into the different price brackets, we'll look at the number of sales in there as well. The overall month is down because our total number of sales this month was 188 sales. Last month, that was 247. So we're down 25% on last month, which is surprising because January, yes, it's a slower month. And certainly that's why we like to compare to last year. But when you see that we dropped like a quarter from December, again, these are all signals of what is really happening. And there's a couple more coming up that we'll tell you in a minute when we get to them. But you can see that there's a big change. Like we've got prices coming down. We've got the number of units of sales actually going down. And then, we'll compare it to last year at 193. So pretty similar like January last year to January this year. But overall, last year was down on 2024's volume that we did in sales anyway. So I think we're just starting to see a lot more of that cautiousness coming into the market. We did just have a Bank of Canada rate announcement. No change there. No real surprise. Get the feeling that this is going to be the theme for the whole of 2026 in the fact that they're not really going to change it at all. It might go down or up by a quarter basis point, but that'll be it. It's not going to affect it. So now we're starting to see the return of the buyers coming into the market because all of a sudden they're like, okay, wait a minute, lower volume of sales, more listings coming on the market, months of inventory are increasing, sale to list price percentage wise is that gap's getting larger, average price is coming down. Doesn't take a lot of analysis then to look at that and say, this is starting to become the buying cycle, the buyer's market. And, we've seen a lot more listings come on in January for sure. But all it's really done, because we didn't sell enough, is it added to the inventory. So months of inventory went up. We're looking at days on market. That's another one that's gone up. So you look at all these different trends, and from a buying point of view, this is the time. Yes, I have seen, and I'll give you a couple of examples of two properties that I went into that within 2 days, I think one of them was 3 days. Yeah, probably day 2 and day 3. Both of these properties went conditional. And with the buyers I was with, there was reasons we didn't really go for them. But I was a little surprised at how quick those offers came in. And I think both of them, one of them definitely got accepted. I'm not sure about the other one. I'll have to check. But again, good houses in good areas at good price points equals 1, 2, 3 days buyers' right offers. So from a selling point of view, that's where you've got to focus. You've got to make sure that your house matches those 3 criteria. If you're getting to that point, then yes, you're going to get offers within the first 4 or 5 days. Just do not expect them to be over asking price. Now, yes, multiple offers, competing offers, you can generate that kind of activity. But once you get it right, those offers, and again, I've checked on a few of the ones that I kind of looked at that went conditional, they didn't go over asking price. So again, that's the other key factor here. So when we look at, obviously we've just done like the listings. Let's look at the number of actives. We have 647 actives. Now, last month that was 640. Last year that was 630. So not changing a huge difference to that. But when that flips into the months of inventory, because we didn't sell a lot of houses in January, but we had 647 active for sale, that gave us a 3.4 months of inventory. So that inventory line is starting to go up every single month. Last month, 2.6, last year, 3.3. So again, the reason I'm looking at last year is because January and February and March are fairly similar to each other. So what happened in February and March last year? Lots of buying happened in February and March last year. Lots of accepted offers. And certainly, we saw the months of inventory come down a little bit off that peak of 3 point something months. So is it going to be different this year? Probably not. Advice for sellers, get your properties ready. Advice for buyers, start hunting, start getting that pre-approval. When you see the house that you like, go in quickly. Don't wait. Like we did one where we did actually wait to the weekend, and that's when the offer came in before we even got into the house. So you've got to be prepared to actually make stuff available, go out and look at the houses and get your offer in before you get into multiple offers or anything else. Okay, let's go back to days on market. So right now we are sitting at 56 days on market. Last month, 52. So we've gone up a little bit now. We are creeping towards that 60 number, which means 2 full months to actually get your property sold. And now last year that was 48. So again, look at the trends here. Everything is starting to move towards that situation where the buyers definitely have a little bit more power, a little bit more options, definitely a lot more choice in houses. And they can actually, for some situations, find the right house and see 3 or 4 houses and then decide which one they actually like to put an offer on. Unless it's one of those houses that is a really nice hulking house, looked after well, in a great area, at a great price. Those are the ones that are going quick. Now let's jump back a bit, because we told you that the average sale price is 607.5. Now the average list price was 623. So what does that equate to? That equates to a 97.6 list to sale price on average across the whole market. That means a $15,000 drop from where you listed to when you actually accepted an offer and it went unconditional. So it went sold. So that's a fairly good spread. And, just go back a year and we were at like 99.8, 99.9. And now we're starting to sit into that 97.6, not that far to basically talking 2.5% off the list price. And then again, there's not just the list price, there's the amount of price reductions that had to happen on the houses that did the price reductions. There's the big caveat. Some houses don't have to do price reductions to then get an accepted offer. However, over half of the houses that sold, again, 188 sold, but over half of them had to actually do a price reduction to get the offer sent in that they then accepted at 2.5% underneath what price they were currently listed at. So that number was $36,000. And we've been looking at those price drops kind of like, for quite a few months now, I think roughly from halfway through last year, because we want to see how much people are having to drop the prices now. Don't forget, when you get into the higher price points, those price drops can be bigger and bigger and bigger. So we're going to go into the section where we talk about the number of listings in the price range block. We're going to talk about the price drops in those particular blocks as well. So you can have an idea of, depending where you're shopping in terms of like where you're looking, what price range, what kind of price drops you can get. Big caveat here. Depends on the area, depends on the property. Not every house is doing price drops. So don't say, well, Richard said 2.5% underneath asking price, therefore it's on everybody's and you should have done a 30-something price drop. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is some houses need to do price drops. The longer days on market, then the more they have to kind of entice a buyer by doing price reductions to get the buyer in the door to then write the offer. And again, depends on the house. Sometimes you look at the house and say, if it's a fair price that they're asking, then they're going to go for the price that they were actually listed for as well. Now that price drop last month to get to the asking price, that was $48,000. So Last month, December, was a lot of big price drops to get their offers accepted. This month, we're at 36, so not huge. And again, we'll go into some of the bigger markets here and you'll be able to see exactly what kind of ranges some of these ones were doing, because there's definitely some price drops that were pretty large compared to some other ones, and they of course will affect the average. Now, looking at new listings, so in other words, how many houses came to the market that were new. This month it was 331. Last month that was 181. Last year was 350. So you can see that January was a big listing month compared to December, which makes sense. Not a lot of people want to list their houses in December because of Christmas and everything else. But a lot of people listed in January because they wanted to, let's say, get ahead of that spring market, that, what do we say, like February, March, April. Those are kind of the times that a lot of the volume starts picking up that you saw in the chart earlier on. But it's interesting when you look at it to say, okay, we didn't sell that much, so the number of listings for sale were very similar to last month, but we added more inventory. So definitely there was a lot of expireds that were happening in January as well. Maybe some even withdrawals or cancellations as well. More or less the same thing, except withdrawals and cancellations, that's when the seller decides to do it. Whereas an expiration is just came to the end of the agreement that we'd signed, house comes off the market. Sales to new listing ratio. This is that one where we always want to see how many sales and how many new listings and what's the ratio between the two of them. And this month we were at 57%. And again, that's because there were more or less double the amount of new listings that came on compared to what we sold. Last month though, that was like flipped the other way. Not a lot of listings, but a lot of sales. So that was when it was at 136%. But January 25, it was at 55%. So kind of a similar market and similar trend as to what happened numbers-wise, apart from prices and inventory and days on market and all those kind of things. But sale to new listing, very similar to last year. Let's get into some price brackets here, because this is where some of the interesting things occur when we look at how many listings have sold in the price range, but also I'm going to go into the price drops as well as the average sale to list price. So let's start it off, 0 to 400,000, 22 sales, an average of 34,000 price drop. But the biggest thing here is an average sale to list price of only 93%. So big price reductions in terms of like what you get your offer accepted at. Moving into the 4 to 500, 41 sales, $28,000 price drop, and 96.6% sale to list price. So again, some pretty good bargains and under asking price offers going on there. 5 to 6, we're at 47 sales, we're at $36,000 average price drop. Price drops are getting bigger, and 97% on sale to list price. 6 to 7, we got 27 sales, so we're starting to peter off a bit here in terms of the number of sales. $27,000 price drop and a 96% sale to list price. So still some good reductions here. 7 to 800, we're on 27 sales again. $36,000 average price drops, but a 99% sale to list price. 8 to 9, we've only got 9 sales there. $20,000 price drops and a 98% sale to list price. 900 to $1 million, only 6 sales there. $149,000 price drop. Just one house did that. So they did a massive price drop to get underneath the $1 million. That's why that happened. But a 99.3% sale to list price. Over $1 million, and this was actually under 2 million, so we didn't have a lot of big sales this month. There was only 9 home sales were done there with a 97.3% sale to list price and an average price drop of $205,000. And again, that was just the one home. So that covers off like all the majority of the stats as well as the price brackets. Now let's check out the top 3 markets. Coming in at number 1 was Timberley, Prospect, Upper Tantallon, St. Margaret's Bay Area. Sale price there, it went up quite a bit, $739,000 with a $758,000 list price, giving them a $18,000 difference, 2.5%. But interestingly, some big price drops there, $58,000 as an average price drop. 50 days on market, taking a little longer. 25 home sales in the actual month. 90 homes for sale, giving them 3.6 months of inventory. Into area number 2, Haven't seen this one show up a lot. This is Fairmount, Clayton Park, and Rockingham. So some good activity going on this month in that area. Average sale price of $618,500. List price $635,000. So you're talking $16K, 2.5% price drop there. But also those big price drops again, $54,000 on average in that area for the houses that had to do the price drops. 41 days on market, 20 sales, 33 active in that area. It's pretty popular down there. 1.7 months of inventory. And that certainly is, in my opinion, one of those areas that we're starting to see really pick up in terms of volume, just because it is so close to the downtown area, but not too far, and not like almost like Bedford where you're kind of at the very top of the area. This is like 15 minutes, 10 minutes to get to downtown Halifax, the top of the peninsula. Rounding off into the top three, we have East Hants, Colchester West. This is Elmsdale, Enfield, Lance. And their average sale price was just under $473,000. List price $480,000, giving them a $7,500 sale to list price, 1.6% underneath list price. But again, $53,500 average price drops, pretty chunky up there. 89 days on the market, 16 sales in the month, 70 for sale, which gives them 4.4 months of inventory. So that market is definitely going up there. But again, that's a price point area. You know, you look at the first number one and number two, like $618,000, $740,000. This one's coming in at $473,000. So long as you're okay with that little bit extra distance, you're outside of HRM. But it does have all the amenities, the swim pool, the library, the doctor's centres, the groceries, the rec centres, the hockey pads. It's got everything you ever need there. So it's a good choice if you're underneath that $500,000 budget and you don't mind travelling a little further. So that's it. That wraps up everything you wanted to know about the Halifax real estate market. And if you have any questions, drop some comments down below, because we'll give you the answers and give you our best opinion on what's going on for your particular circumstance in the area.